I hope you don't get the sickness.
My boy Kurt is a stay-at-home dad, watching Disney movies he never had. His daughter digs through all the VHS, crushing the classics in a princess dress. Informed like Scuttle, Kurt's got your ticket, making it real like Jiminy Cricket. Most off the Captain Hook, but if the Tweedle dumb, he'll be taking more shots than Bambi's mom. Leaves him raised like Simba, or cracked like the beast dishes. He'll show you a whole new world, you won't need 3 wishes. Stay at home, Disney dad.
Okay, so I keep getting people asking me to review Song of the South. You know, not in the YouTube comment sections where it counts, but in private Facebook Messenger messages. And I know they think they're being funny or edgy or whatever, but I'm honestly just as curious about this buried part of Disney's history as everyone else. And a few months ago, I found a bootleg DVD of it on eBay, so I got it, and it shipped from Australia of all places. And while I didn't watch it with my daughter, I did watch it, and I thought our 50th episode might be a good time to see what the 2020 takeaway is from 1946's controversial Song of the South. Okay, this movie was apparently banned, but I did a quick Google, and it's kind of vague. The definitive Disney stance on Song of the South is that it's not banned, we just never released it, which is kind of like when Principal Skinner says, "Why, children, there's no mystery around Groundskeeper Willie, he just simply disappeared." Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. If you somehow don't know about the Song of the South lore, this movie has the unfortunate reputation of being horribly outdated in all sorts of racist ways, and Disney kind of pretends it never happened. And because they pretend it never happened, people love to bring this up as the definitive example of Disney hypocrisy. So from now until the end of days, every time something negative happens in present-day Disney, the company does what any company does in the current social media landscape. They go on record and they say whatever negative publicity they receive does not adhere to their present-day corporate imaging or values, and then everyone just waits for someone to throw Song of the South back in the company's face. Yeah, good times. In the wake of the recent Black Lives Matter movement, Disney stepped up and is renovating Splash Mountain, the ride unfortunately based on the Song of the South movie. So I've been on Splash Mountain many times, and I guess this movie is half animated, half real life, and the animated scenes include Brer Rabbit and Brer Bear and Brer Fox. And just going through that ride with zero context, I gotta say those characters really creep me out, and also at the same time they seemed familiar. I thought I may have had like a book or a record or something with these characters when I was little. I asked my mom and dad, and yeah, this was on heavy rotation in the old Anderson house back in the 80s. I can remember feeling uneasy as the poor rabbit had to sit there covered in tar and watch while the fox and the bear would dance around him and celebrate how they were going to kill him and eat him. Anyway, Splash Mountain is being changed to a princess and a frog themed ride, which of course features Tiana, Disney's Black Princess, so thumbs up on that awesome flex, Disney. So with that being said, this is episode 50, and with Splash Mountain closing forever, it's a great time to tear off this racist band-aid, pop this DVD in, and see what happens. Okay, wait. Before we start, I just kind of want to set a personal table here. For the record, I'm a straight white Gen X middle class male from Canada. So yeah, my privilege has its own set of privilege, and I recognize that and I understand that. I am not in any position to weigh in too heavily on racism and oppression, as it's something I've never had to think about or really deal with on a personal level. No one has ever made me feel less than just because of the color of my skin. And the last thing anyone needs right now is another white person's online profound revelations about racism. So that being said, just allow me to do this. Allow me to blindly jump into the log ride of yesteryear's mistakes and see where it takes us. Let's start. Hit play. Buena Vista Screen. Walt Disney presents Song of the South with Uncle Remus and Brer Rabbit. Uncle Remus, huh? It's an old-timey movie, so the credits are first, which I love. The associate producer is Perce Pierce. Perce Pierce. Perce Pierce sounds like someone who challenged Hulk Hogan for the world title back in 1984. A graphic says, "Out of the humble cabin, out of the singing heart of the Old South have come the tales of Uncle Remus. Rich and simple truths, forever fresh and new." I'm nervous. We get some initial narration dripping with exaggerated ebonics, and we fade into a scene of a family on a horse and buggy. Narrator says, "Like the time Sally came to the plantation." Oh boy, we have an uppity high-strung couple, a young man and an African-American woman in the buggy with them, and I assume this is one of their slaves. For the record, I'm very uncomfortable. The little boy wants to know why they're going to Grandma's. His mom says, I thought you'd enjoy seeing a plantation. He says his friends say everyone gets mad at his dad when he writes in the newspaper, and the dad looks uncomfortable. The other lady in the buggy, who is not his mom, runs interference and says, hey, you hear those frogs? The kid's dad claims they are saying, need it, and the kid suddenly goes full-on possessed, like Exorcist, and he starts repeating it back to his dad like this. I half expected him to hop out and spider walk down the dirt road. The dad says he used to have a box of frogs in his room, but it was Uncle Remus's fault. The boy refers to the other woman as Aunt Tempe. I'm not sure the children would be calling the help auntie, but again, I can only speculate. Let's break my one rule of these reviews, and let's Google Song of the South, Aunt Tempe. Okay, played by Hattie McDaniel in the 1940s, Hattie became one of the most prominent film character actresses in Hollywood, creating roles closely identifying with hardworking black women, including Aunt Tempe in Walt Disney's Song of the South. Awesome! She was also criticized by the NAACP for perpetuating black stereotypes. Back to the movie. The kid asks if Uncle Remus is real. Tempe says, of course he is. They pass the outskirts of the plantation where the black folk live in shoddy-looking cabins, and one little boy runs and jumps on the back of the buggy as it goes by. They get to the massive building, and Grandma is waiting for them. She tells the dad it's going to be so nice having a man around the house again, and he looks uncomfortable. More help come. One gentleman is unloading the buggy, and the kid asks Tempe if that's Uncle Remus. Oh no, that's just Ned, she says. Sorry, Ned. But honestly, I'm guessing your day was probably already ruined long before this happened. Grandma introduces a little boy to that other little boy that was on the back of the buggy, and he tells them to go off and play together. Would that have happened? Would that have been allowed? The relationship between the white and the black folk here seem extremely harmonious. I feel like they're putting a very cheery filter on how life was actually like for these folks working on the plantation. As everyone leaves the room, the mom and dad kind of get into it. The dad is super unlikable. When are you going to tell her? Why can't you come with me? The little boys are watching a clock until Johnny, that's the name of the main kid, overhears the parents arguing. The dad is telling the grandma he's leaving and Johnny is staying, but he wants his wife Sally to come with him, and Sally's like, it's no use, I'm not going back with you. And he says, well, then I'll have to go without you. What is happening? Johnny comes in the room, and Dad, who is just overacting his heart out, says goodbye to everyone, and Johnny starts crying. The tone of the scene is all over the place. Everyone is either way overacting or way underacting. It's night, and Johnny is running through the dark forest, and he finds a circle of the help. Should I be calling them slaves? I feel gross saying slaves. They're apparently a happy little community on the plantations. They all joyfully sit around the fire at night, singing and having a good time. Again, seems like Disney's putting a very cheery filter on what life was actually like working for white people on a plantation back in the day. They're all singing songs about Uncle Remus. Everything is so dark in these scenes, I can barely tell what's going on. It's so poorly lit. Even as Johnny, the one white kid, walks through the forest, I can't see anything. I don't know what's going on. Johnny hears someone telling a story. He peeks around a tree. I think Uncle Remus is telling the story of Brer Rabbit to a group of the kids, but again, it's so dark, it's impossible to tell what's going on. I don't know if this is the DVD burn or what is. The ebonics all these characters deliver their lines in is so exaggerated and over the top, especially by today's standards. And now that I've said ebonics twice, I'm uncomfortable, and I did a quick Google of the word, and I can't really tell if this is a dated or offensive word or not, but Wikipedia says the term is generally avoided now, and African linguist John McWhorter argues that the term does more to hinder black academic achievement than to help it. Okay, I'm going to stop using the term from here on in. I will say vernacular if it ever comes up again. My apologies. I'm trying, folks. I'm doing my best with sensitive material. While we're here, let's Google Uncle Remus. James Baskett was an American actor. In recognition of his portrayal of the famous black storyteller Uncle Remus, he was given an honorary Academy Award, making him the first black male performer to receive an honorary Oscar. Despite his leading role, he was not actually considered for a competitive Academy Award for Best Actor or Supporting Best Actor. He also voiced the Fat Crow in Dumbo, and then he came back for Song of the South. Baskett did not attend the film's premiere in Atlanta, Georgia, because Atlanta was racially segregated by law. In fact, none of the black cast members attended because segregation would have relegated them to the balcony seats, and they would not have been allowed to participate in any of the other premiere festivities. That's depressing. Although Baskett was occasionally criticized for accepting such demeaning roles, most of his acting credits were of African-American stereotypes. His acting was almost universally praised, and columnist Hedda Hopper, along with Walt Disney, was one of the many journalists and personalities who declared that he should receive an Academy Award for his work. Let's go back to the movie. Remus sees Jimmy and starts telling him about when Miss Sally was his age, how she would laugh and laugh. The two other women run up and claim Miss Sally's been looking for Johnny. Remus says, "You tell Sally Johnny's with me." They reply, "What do you mean, with you?" "Yeah, man, what do you mean, with you?" Johnny runs away again, and he's running through the dark with Uncle Remus slowly on his trail. Remus finds Jimmy crying. Everything is so dark. Lights, people. Okay, pause. I'm only 50 minutes in, but I should point out that this isn't at all what I was expecting for Song of the South. I was expecting hurtful and outdated animated stereotypes of African Americans, like the indigenous people in Peter Pan, or the crows, or the cats. This is like a different version of racism. This is a happy retelling of slavery, which is obviously inaccurate. And yeah, this shouldn't see the light of day anymore, in fear that young people would watch this and think that this was a happy time for the African American people. I'm not being insensitive or trying to be funny at all, but this feels like and the last thing anyone needs right now is another white person's online profound revelations about racism. I can appreciate why this isn't available on Disney Plus, people, okay? Maybe it's the bad DVD bootleg again from Australia, but I can't tell what's happening. Every scene is so dark. To keep Jimmy from running away, he tells him a story about Brer Rabbit, and we transition into an animated portion of this movie finally. For the record, to pitch to the story, Remus says, and I quote, but oh no, we go straight into the video for Zippity Doodah, which won an Academy Award that year. We get a neat transition here, though, where the animation meets real life. It kind of explodes out of his back. This is stuff Disney did real good back in the day. I feel like this music video is shown on regular Disney programming in the 80s, because I know I've seen Zippity Doodah before. As the song ends, he's distracted by Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit is mad, and he's boarding up his home. He wants to run away, just like Jimmy. I wonder if they were even mildly aware that the lessons they thought Song of the South were teaching in the late 40s would not be the lessons Song of the South teaches 80 years later. Real life Remus interacts with animated Brer Rabbit. It's pretty good. Rabbit grabs his bindle, great word, and he's off. He immediately falls into a trap and is captured. We meet the fox character, who is truly terrifying. I don't know where the line between fun animated villains and disturbing animated villains are, but this guy crosses the line immediately as he maniacally laughs and starts sharpening his axe. Next we meet Brer Bear. So we have Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. Give me 1 second while I Google Brer. The word Brer is used as an informal title before a man's name. Okay. Guess this is a good place to talk about the stories of Brer Rabbit while I'm Googling this. These are not Disney originals. These short stories were based on a collection of Black American folktales by Joel Chandler Harris. Now, if you hear the name Joel Chandler Harris and think, hey, that sounds like a white guy, you would be correct. It gets murky. She's a deep rabbit hole, if you will, so hang on as we do this. Joel Chandler Harris was an American journalist, fiction writer, and folklorist, best known for his collection of Uncle Remus stories. He was an apprentice on a plantation during his teenage years, where he spent hundreds of hours in the slave quarters during his time off, where he fostered an intimate connection with the slaves, and it was there he absorbed their stories, including those of Brer Rabbit. Harris's legacy has largely been ignored by academia, in part due to the Uncle Remus character, use of dialect, and plantation settings. As you can imagine, people have mixed feelings about the man. His books are widely celebrated but have zero critical standing. He is also obviously accused of appropriating African American culture. In the final verdict, the Uncle Remus character he's either a mouthpiece for white paternalism or a stereotype of the black entertainer. Here's where it gets fun. Beatrix Potter, Mark Twain, and A.A. Milne were all heavily influenced by his work. Oh yeah, they were. Oh yeah. Potter created her own rabbit character and lifted words and phrases directly from those stories. Oh yeah, folks. Deal with that. Back to the cartoon, here we are. We meet Brer Bear, and he's a giant simpleton. All racist overtones and undertones aside, the three characters are creepy. Brer Rabbit tricks Brer Bear into letting him go, and as the axe-wielding Brer Fox arrive, it's Brer Bear stuck in the trap. Brer Fox and Brer Bear start beating on each other, and you just know some dark stuff goes on in that house late at night between those two. Anyway, Brer Rabbit runs home, and we go back to Remus, who says, see, you can't run away from trouble. Brer Rabbit literally just ran away from trouble. We get more live shots of the two of them, but it's mostly just darkness. I hear fire and I see the odd shape move now and then, but like my screen is just so dark. The other little boy comes up running in a panic and Remus says, maybe it's just Jesse's ghost. No thank you. Remus brings Johnny back and takes the blame for having him all past his bedtime. And finally, there's an awkward exchange between where the white folk look down upon the help. It's uncomfortable, but then Grandma's all jokey with Remus again, and all is well again. If one of the rich little white kids went missing and it turns out one of the help had him out in the woods for hours, I can't help but guess this probably would have ended differently back in the day. Again, glossy. The next morning, Jimmy wants to go frog hunting, but he has to wear his dress clothes, which look like an Amish lady's attire. The other little boy, his friend, tries to cheer him up and pulls a frog out of his hat. They get giant tree branches and ride them like horses. Johnny wants to take a shortcut through the field, but his friend stops him and points out this giant bull would have trampled him to death if he tried to cut across. See, they're giving the little African-American kid a big win here. They portray the white city kid as a foolish bumbler that has no idea how to safely navigate a farm. So that's good. They keep licking their fingers and holding them up to test the wind, and I cringe as I watch this during a pandemic and realize I haven't touched my face in like 4 months. We meet some bully kids. It was inevitable. One holds up a puppy and says, "We ought to drown him. He's the runt." And the little girl grabs the puppy and runs away. Another puppy runs under the fence to Johnny, and I think the other kid's name is Toby. Anyway, the dog runs to them, and the bully kids come and grab the dog back. Toby bails. It's pretty funny. Like, he starts running and exits stage right, leaving Johnny standing there all by himself. One bully says, "Give me my dog back, or I'll knock your head clean off." Charming. The other asks where he got them funny-looking clothes. "Look at that lace collar." And Johnny just stands there and absorbs their ill will like some ill will absorbing absorber. Then they break into song. "Look at that little girlie wearing a lace collar." All right, we've checked the racism box, so we're moving on to the gender shaming box. The boy sulks away and rips off his lace collar. The bully's kid sister finds him and gives a different dog, the dog the brothers wanted to drown, to Jimmy or Johnny. Why does that little girl look so familiar? Google, Luana Patton. Oh, no. Okay. In exchange for the dog, he gives Patton his lace collar. Everyone is happy. Her name is Jenny. He tells her, "That's a pretty name." All right, Johnny, settle down. Hard cut to Aunt Tempe yelling at him to put the dog back. He can't keep it. Johnny gets an idea. He tries to get Remus to look after his dog. Remus says no, then talks to himself for like 5 minutes until he eventually talks himself into thinking it's a good idea to keep the dog. The next scene, all the help are walking together down a dirt trail, singing a song, just living their best lives. The bullies want their dog back, and Remus threatens them with his cane. Jenny pops back up and says, "If they give you any trouble, tell our parents, and our mom will wail on them." Remus sits Toby and Johnny down, and we transition to another animated story. "One time, not your time, not my time, but a time," Remus begins. Remus, back in the animated world, talks to butterflies and Brer Rabbit. They sing a duet. So, this part has a little Disney charm to it. Uncle Remus sits next to a grumpy toad, and they smoke pipes together. Remus goes fishing with an animated fishing rod, and this is the first time this movie feels like Disney. Then we're back to Brer Fox and Brer Bear. Brer Fox is the one with all the harebrained schemes to get Brer Rabbit, while Brer Bear holds up a club with a spike through it and claims they should just knock his head clean off. Brer Fox has a plan. He wants to prove that he's smarter than Brer Rabbit. Okay. Brer Fox makes a child out of tar. It's like a tar snowman. They leave it sitting on a log. They call it a tar baby. Oh no. I'm just going to ignore the obvious implications here and just say what I see on the screen. Brer Rabbit says hi to the tar baby twice, and when he doesn't get a response, this infuriates Brer Rabbit, who rolls up his sleeves and wants to teach tar baby some manners. He punches the tar baby and gets stuck in the tar. Brer Fox and Brer Bear come out whistling and dancing. They are extremely happy because they are about to bash Brer Rabbit's head in. Brer Fox builds a fire around him. Brer Bear keeps saying he wants to knock his head clean off. Brer Fox says he's going to hang him or skin him. Brer Rabbit says he's cool with either of those, but the one he doesn't want is to be flung into the briar patch. So, of course, the idiot Brer Fox decides to fling him into the briar patch. Watch out for Brer Rabbit, master of reverse psychology. Brer Fox flings him into the briar patch, which is where he lives, so he gloats and he hops up and down like a jerk, throwing their stupidity back in their stupid faces. It ends with Brer Bear smashing Brer Fox over the head with a club. Out of this story, Johnny and Toby skip away and get confronted by the bully brothers who want their dog back. Well, Johnny just heard a story about reverse psychology, so he applies it on the bullies. When they threaten to tell Johnny's mom or Johnny's grandma, Johnny says, "Whatever you do, don't tell your mom," and the idiot bullies smile and nod at each other and walk away. Quick cut to one of the bullies flying out the front door while the other runs out. Their mom comes charging out after them, swinging a giant stick at them. She apparently just used it to spank them as they're both rubbing their butts. She says she doesn't want to hear anything about the dog anymore. The bullies figure out they were had, and their acting is somewhere between painful and atrocious. Back inside, Aunt Tempe is baking and cooking and singing, and Remus creeps on her a little bit. The bullies are back and they want their dog. Remus says, "It's Johnny's dog." Tempe says, "No, it ain't. Miss Sally told him to take it back," and Remus looks terrified. Thanks to Johnny, Remus unknowingly lied to Miss Sally. He tries to shoo the bullies, but Miss Sally arrives and the jig is up. They say Uncle Remus has the dog, so Miss Sally wouldn't know. This part is all sorts of uncomfortable. This is so much uncomfortable energy. Miss Sally is grilling Remus now, and I'm pretty confident the Disney punishment for something like this is going to be a lot different than what the real punishment would have been back in the day. Just saying. Miss Sally tells Remus to go get them the dog. They ask if she's going to whip Johnny and follow it up with, "Johnny said he don't care if we tell you, just don't tell our mom. And when we told our mom, she gave us a whipping." They storm off, and Remus laughs at these kids who got beat up by their mom. Guy, don't make it worse. Remus explains that one of his Brer Rabbit stories is to blame for all this, and Miss Sally tells him these stories only confuse Johnny and tells Remus not to tell Johnny any more stories. Is this the third act? You can't tell him stories? Grandma says Johnny needs these stories, or friends. You know, either or. Miss Sally gets Johnny all excited about his upcoming birthday. "We'll have a party. Can Jenny come?" "No." "Will Dad be there?" "No." This could be going better. Johnny gets a present for his dog. Trenchie's the name, and Remus has to deliver all sorts of bad news to the kid. Dog is gone. Next we go to some weird places here in Song of the South. Johnny accuses Remus of not even caring about the dog. Remus gets all down on himself and says he's just a stupid old man and ain't no good to nobody. Johnny says Remus is his best friend, and Remus says, "Well, that's true, but he can't tell him stories anymore." Johnny leaves crying. Uncle Remus is crying, and then he starts hammering a shoe. End scene. It's now the birthday party. Jenny's getting ready. Jenny can come. For the record, Patton acts circles around every other child actor in this movie and most of the adults. Jimmy is walking Jenny to his party, but her bully brothers come and push Jenny in the mud, and the dress she's so proud of is covered in mud. Jenny starts crying because her dress is ruined, and now I'm sad. Jenny's the only character I like. I don't want to see her crying. Yeah, Johnny snaps and tackles the smaller bully, just starts beating that into the mud. The larger bully tries to pull him off, and when he can't, he just bounces while Johnny continues to beat his little brother like a drum. Okay, the big one returns with a club. He's about to hit Johnny into next weekend. It's Uncle Remus for the win. He tells Johnny to get off, and it's odd because he's momentarily dropped his exaggerated, stereotypical vernacular. He's just, get off, get off. Johnny goes running after Jenny. He finds her crying against a tree. Again, Patton is believable. Johnny says, "Don't cry, I'll clean off your dress," and he starts rubbing his hands all over her. Anyway, it turns out you can't rub off wet mud, so he goes to Plan B and starts telling her a story about Brer Rabbit. She is sobbing. Remus comes and tries to smooth things over, and Johnny says he doesn't even want to go to his own birthday party anymore because, quote, "Daddy didn't come and Jenny's all dirty." Remus sits between them and starts giggling. They've all had trouble before, but no one has trouble before like Brer Rabbit had trouble. Don't do it, Remus. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's too late. We're in cartoon number 3. Brer Rabbit is tied up and hanging on the wall while Brer Fox prepares a pot over the fire, and Brer Bear sits at the table with a napkin tucked into his shirt, licking his lips. Brer Fox is laughing and saying Brer Rabbit is all dressed up for dinner. All dressed up for dinner. Suddenly he goes ultra serious and sneers, "My dinner." Okay, number 1. We all got this before you said it. And number 2, horrifying. Then Brer Fox holds him over the flames like a hot dog. All right, Brer Rabbit thinks quickly and tells Brer Bear about his, quote, laughing place. Brer Bear wants to see it. So they put a rope around his neck, and Brer Rabbit is leading them to this, quote, laughing place. What is happening? He says the laughing place is in those bushes over there. Brer Bear runs in like an idiot and gets covered in bees. Brer Fox laughs at him because he's such a bumbler. Brer Bear gets red hot and stuffs a beehive over Brer Fox's head. Brer Bear and Brer Fox fight the bees as they run away, and Brer Rabbit escapes again and laughs like a crazy person. We come out of this story, and the children are happy. Johnny grabs Jenny. They run off together, and Jenny leads her away and says, "Let's go looking for our laughing place." Miss Sally shows up and Remus says he's sorry. She says, "I knew you couldn't stop telling him stories, and now you can't see Johnny at all anymore. Completely away." The help return after a hard day of work, all smiles and singing, still living their best lives. This is starting to take a toll on me. Remus is all introspective as he packs his bags. Toby asks what he's doing. Uncle Remus is going away. See, I guess here you're just free to come and go as you like on this plantation. Neat! Johnny and Jenny arrive back at Jenny's house. She's super excited because her dad is home and she runs off to be with him. Okay, there's 45 seconds left in this movie and Johnny has lost his dog, Uncle Remus just bounced forever, and now he has to watch as Jenny leaves because her dad loves her enough to come home, unlike his own dad. 45 seconds, folks. They have a lot of ground to cover. Okay, Johnny rage snaps off a branch. As he leaves for his home, Johnny has a revelation and he runs into Uncle Remus's house. Uncle Remus, I found my laughing place. It's right here. He bursts in and Uncle Remus' house is empty. That's where my DVD ends. The hell? This can't be the ending. My DVD ends with Johnny standing in Remus's empty room. Okay, now what? Okay, this can't be the end. Okay, I'm Googling the synopsis. No, this isn't the ending at all. I found a YouTube clip of the last 6 minutes, but I guess Johnny tried to stop Remus from leaving. He took a shortcut and he got trampled by the bull after all. How? What? How did they film that scene? What? Oh, this stupid DVD. Okay, let's pick it up on YouTube. Johnny is dead in bed and his dad is back and everyone is trying to get him to come out of his bull-induced coma. He's delirious and calling for Uncle Remus, and all the rich white folk now know what they gotta do. The grandma goes outside the front door where Uncle Remus is standing. What? He's back? I have no idea what I missed between the premature end of my Australian DVD bootleg and the start of this YouTube clip. Remus starts telling Johnny a story, and Johnny reaches out to hold Remus's hand, and then he pops out of his coma. The dad can't believe it. Johnny can't believe his dad is there. His dad says, "Don't worry, I'll stay right here where I belong." And Remus and Grandma side-eye each other. And then the dad says, "I promise, we'll have more fun than Brer Rabbit." And then his mom says, "And we'll find the laughingest place in the whole world." Remus just stands there while they steal his entire life of disciplined storytelling and the ability to connect with children. And they use it to exploit a shortcut to the fact that they are shitty parents. Remus bows out. Time passes and we see Jenny, Johnny, and Toby skipping along, singing Zippity-Doo-Dah, and Remus can't believe it. The three kids can see animated Brer Bear. Remus even rubs his eyes to make sure this is real. Remus breaks the fourth wall and looks right into the camera. The pipe-smoking animated frog joins in, and hey, there's the dog I assumed the bullies drowned, but nope, it's there. Would you look at that? Everything's happy, and it ends. Okay, real talk. Are you ready? Take away all the racist retelling of history and just focus on the movie itself. That was terrible. Anyone bent out of shape because this movie is unavailable for mainstream consumption is just trying to start trouble. Who wants to watch this over and over? Outside of Bassett and McDaniel and Patton, this is a collection of the worst acting I've ever seen in any Disney movie ever. Hey, while I'm all for gray area characters that are done well, outside of the Bully Brothers, who are the antagonists? Grandma seems like a level-headed slave owner. Johnny's mom, Miss Sally, has a completely hands-off approach for raising her child and only pops in to criticize those who are doing the job for her. His dad is an idiot and we never get any sort of payoff for him. Why the drama? Why does everyone hate what he writes in the newspaper? Who is he? Where were him and Sally heading for a divorce? Where did he go? In every scene he acts paranoid and distracted, like he's carrying around a human head in his backpack. And he's terrified someone's going to find out any second. Toby is portrayed as somewhat simple, but he teaches Jimmy a bunch of life lessons. They kind of glorify life as a slave in more than a few places in this movie, like all of them. I honestly don't know what to do with Song of the South. Obviously, we can learn from it by how poorly it aged, or we can all stare at it and go, wow, this movie is one giant mistake. Maybe we can do both. I don't know. I personally just don't really see anything of value in this movie at all. Even if you take the animated parts with Brer Rabbit and present them as standalone cartoons, they haven't aged well either. No one is going to let the roasting of a cartoon character on their channel or platforms in 2020. And as soon as Brer Rabbit outsmarts the idiot fox and bear, he is so obnoxious in his celebration, I find myself immediately cheering against him. This movie. It's not up to me if Disney's handling and vague apologies for Song of the South are satisfactory for the African American or black people. I would never weigh in on that at all. I know I'm never going to miss this movie if I never see it again, ever. I don't regret watching it though, like I'm glad we did this. Sometimes your curiosity leads you to dark places you should avoid, and you're left numb and confused as the unfortunate decisions of yesterday remind you to take brave baby steps towards a future of universal listening, understanding, and compassion.
That's what I think about.
What do you think?
What we have is a concern about Curtis Anderson. His interviewing style is not the best. His personal appearance is not the best. I was wondering if the man has some kind of a hold over the channel that he's allowed to be employed for so long with the standards of journalism